Right, I think I know what order it goes in, but whether it's in neutral or not is an entirely different thing. So we have the spring first, then we have the arm, and I've kind of got to wedge that in and force it over so that the spring is in tension. Something like that. Then we have the spacer, and then that locates it, because it's a top hat spacer, so it's got like a little collar on the top, so that locates within that arm to sort of hold it in the right position. So I've got to get that forced in. I think maybe it'll just force itself in. Now there's also a little M6 washer which I appear to have lost. Such is my skill in trying to retain things, but an M6 washer is an M6 washer, so I'm sure I can find another one. In my junk box. There's one there, that'll do nicely. And then the nut goes on top, and I'm hoping that that will just all snug down nicely. Still not entirely sure about this, make sure it's in neutral bollocks, but this is not a hard thing to take apart if we have to. I'm not sure if that's located, I don't think it is. No, it isn't, because it's sticking. Right, let me just back that off a little bit. So I've got to get that little top hat thing that I showed you to locate, and I think that's probably just gone in. I just felt that drop. Let's just not fully knit that up yet, just make sure that's free and working, which it is. Right, now they'll tighten that properly, obviously talk to the correct setting. Click, there you go. I do all the essential stuff will all be torqued, you know, head bolts and the proper stuff. Anyway, we've now got to get the selector itself in. So this is the bit that the actual gear change will bolt to. So that will drop on there. Something like that. I've got that fucked up in I. So let's get that on first. So that goes in. I've got that spacer on, yes I have. So that should be slide back like that. That goes in like that. And then why isn't that going down? What have I done wrong? Ah, there we go. Is that it? Is it that simple? And then this goes something like that. Not entirely sure what that does, but it was on and it's on again. Now the only other thing is this C-clip, which with hindsight I don't think I actually needed to take off in the first place, but we'll just pop that back on. Something a bit of heft behind it. Go, so that's on. Like I said, don't even think that needed to have come off really. And as far as I know, that is the gear mechanism assembled. Now I'm not going to put the cap on yet because I'm not 100% sure I've got that correct. So I want to drop all the gear cluster and gear chain in, and then just make sure that all the gears are there and everything's hunky-dory. So let's just drop that on thus. And really I could do it with a gear selector lever. Gear lever just to, yeah, more grips will do. As long as I don't gall up the spline, I'm sure this will work nicely. So I'm going to do it on the smooth bit, but it might not grip. You can't see what I'm doing, can you? See, I'm just trying to attach a pair of mole grips to the gear change and just see what happens when I rotate it. Well, it's not actually moving, so it's not a good sign, is it? Let's get it on the spline. As long as we're careful, it should be okay. Entirely sure how that works, but I'm sure there's something, I'm sure someone will let me know if you know. Isn't there something about Kawasaki's where you can't actually select all the gears until it's actually rotating? Someone knows the answer to that, let me know. So that would be second then, wouldn't it, that one? Yeah, I honestly don't know whether I've got that right, and I don't know quite how to tell just yet, but let's move on the assumption that we have got it right. That's all we can do. So, I think what I might do is just drop in the gear cluster. I know I might have to lift it out again, but just to see how that all interacts with what I've done so far. Hang on. There you go. That's not good. The bearing fell out. So let's try dropping the right gear cluster in the right hole, shall we? I often find that's helpful. That's not right, is it? Was I right? I was right the first fucking time, surely. Hang on. that goes in there. So that is correct. Let's leave that sprocket off at the minute because that's just to drive the oil pump. Okay. That's it. Well, that felt very stiff, but I hadn't got it dropped in properly. Right, now let's drop this next one in. So that there, the end of that, is what the actual sprocket goes on, that goes to the drive chain. Ah! You know that thing that I said was half a piston? I know what it is now. It goes in the end of that. It's like a two-part bouncy on the floor thing. I hope it's a two-part anyway, because if it isn't a two-part, whatever you call it, then it's broken. But if it is broken, it is broken perfectly in two. Now that wasn't good, because that's just fallen off with absolutely no idea how it goes back together. Now that's got to be it, isn't it? And then that goes on there. And that goes on there. I've really got to be more careful with this, because if it falls apart, I genuinely have no idea how it would all go back together, and I suspect that the Haynes manual will be of limited use. So let's just leave them things out for the time being, because this is coming out again anyway. I'll have to have a look at the manual, see if it makes any reference to those. I wonder if I'm struggling to get this in because it's in gear, or it's, you know, I've not set what I was talking about earlier, making sure the drum selector is in neutral. But I just want to try and figure out how this gearbox works. In my own mind, because genuinely, I mean, gearboxes are like a fucking, don't know, just, it's like voodoo fucking black magic shit, innit? I don't understand them, do you? I don't. So I don't think we're in neutral. So right, I'm going to fuck about with this, because I don't want to waste my battery just me trying to figure it out and boring the shite out of you lot. So let me see if I can figure it out and I'll come back. Good morning, everybody. That fucking rain's gone at last. Have you enjoyed the fucking summer so far? Yeah. Right. Now let's talk about this engine. Obviously this is the GPZ, or one of the GPZ engines. It's the one I intend using, and to that end I wanted to paint it, and I wanted it to be a fairly high-end paint job for me. High-end for me. High-end for me is not high-end, it's low-end, but it's high-end for me. Here with me. Anyway, it doesn't look like it, but I have spent hours on this engine. I've been degreasing it, I've been sanding it, I've even pressure washed it with a very high pressure washer, which is actually, it's that high pressure it's taken the paint off, as you can see. Don't know whether that was a good idea, maybe it wasn't. And then I've degreased it again, and I've washed it again, and I've sanded it again, and I just cannot get it to the standard I want it, the preparation standard prior to painting. And I've kind of accepted now that I'm not going to. Short of, the only way you can get the finish that I was hoping to get would be to pull it apart and then paint each individual part and then reassemble it. I just haven't got the time or the resources to do that. So I've just give it one final degrease, and I've hosed it down, hence it's wet, and I'm just going to paint it as is. I've got some masking off to do, but I'm just going to paint it. I've not done any preparation to the lid, because the lid is that the, no, the cam cover, let's be technical, because I'm not using that one. That is simply on there to cover the cams up. I have been working on the cam cover that I am going to use, which is there, and that has come out very, very nice. I'm very happy with that. It's not it is dry, so we'll take that out in the light. It's not perfect, I'm not trying to hide anything, but it's as good as my skills can get it, and it looks a damn sight better. So when we've painted the engine, that one will obviously go on. So still working on this blown apart one. What I just said about each individual part, prep it, paint it and everything, I could do it on this one, but the reason I'm not doing it is because I simply don't know if this engine is going to be any good. This is me just playing with an engine to see if I can put it together at no cost, or very little cost, as you know from previous videos. Unless I of course upload these out of sequence, then you won't have even seen me working on that, but we'll see. Anyway, that's where we are. I am going to let that dry, get it masked off, and then give it a coat of, and the paint I'm using is this, in the light so you can, high coat engine enamel. I've got 3 or 4 coats of this, so we'll give it a coat and see what it looks like. I know that there's stuff on there that needs to come off that I can't get off. There's flaky paint and everything. I've done the best I can. It's going to look a damn sight better than it did. It's not going to look, it's not going to be the standard I wanted it, which is a bit disappointing. But anyway, I'm going to crack on with that. We'll cut you back in when there's something to see. Right, while I'm waiting for that engine to dry, I'm pissing about with this old knackered engine that I'm got on my bench. Now, I've been looking at this Haynes manual because I want to put it back together properly, or as properly as I can do anyway, and things weren't making sense. And then I realised why. I'm actually assembling all the components, the balance shaft and the crankshaft and all the gears and everything, in the top half of the engine, when in actual fact I should be assembling them in the bottom half of the engine. Common sense, I know, but I didn't see it. So we've got this bottom half here we've just cleaned up, and we've fitted them dowels. So I don't really know what I'm doing, so I'm not going to film this at the moment. I'll dip you in and out. The reason being, this isn't an instructional video for the said reason. I don't know what I'm doing, so I can figure it out when I'm not arsing about trying to film and explain what I'm doing when I don't really know what I'm doing, if you know what I mean. So yeah, let me have a piss about, and we'll probably dip you in and out. Well, just to correct what I just said, because I'm bound to get comments, I was assembling it in the bottom half, and I should be assembling it in the top. I think I just told you guys the other way round. Anyway, there it is. That's what it shows. It was this tab here that gave it away, because on that one it's like there, you know, it's like a slot. That one is a solid tab, and then on the show you in the manual, it then shows you that solid tab. So yeah, I've got to assemble it in the top half of the engine, and then presumably I flip the bottom half over. Is that it? Oh, I don't fucking know. Anyway, let's have a play. Right, I've given that a bit of a paint on the bottom and on the back side. I'll let that dry and see how it turns out. It does seem to be orange peeling a lot on the back there, but let's get it dried and see what the final result is. As soon as I can get a coat of paint on this, I can get it dropped in the frame, which is over there and has been for many months, and we can start dressing the engine while it's in the frame. I think try and get it make a looker. Fucking hell, I'm turning into Chinglish. Yeah, get it looking better anyway. So yeah, let's see how it turns out. Right, I've given a couple of coats on one side. It's not terrible, I'll be honest. It's not top quality either, let's face it, but I think if you stand a couple of miles away and squint your eyes, that will look quite good. So we'll let that dry, probably let it dry overnight, then we'll flip it over, paint the other side, then might see about getting it in the frame. Anyway, on with this engine I'm reassembling. I'll be honest with you, you can tell by the gap in the videos that I've not been in the shed, and I've not been working on this, and as a result I've took it apart a long time ago, forgot where everything goes. Dirty Garage Guy, on his channel, I think they're years old, bloody years old, but he's got some videos of where he's reassembled an ER5 engine, which is essentially the same engine as this, and it has been tremendously useful. A couple of things it's helped me out with. Dropping these gears in, that was easy enough. A couple of things you wouldn't think to remember. That divot there, when I drop the top case on, that locates with the top case. Can I see it? Can I see it? There it is, yeah. There's a pin in the top case that locks into that, and the reason it does that is because it stops this shifting sideways. I didn't know that. Dirty Garage Guy, thank you mate. In the unlikely event you are actually watching this, which I can't see myself. The other thing as well, I was wondering where these come from. I knew I had them and I weren't entirely sure where they come from. Now I know they go in there and do the same thing as that. They lock that bearing into place, and then when you get the top case off, they locate into these grooves, keeps it all in place. So yes, I'm reassembling this engine with the assistance unknown to him of Dirty Garage Guy. Cheers. Right, let's carry on. Right, still on this engine. I've given that one a second coat, but I'm going to pull that into the shed when I pack in and let it dry, and then tomorrow flip it over and paint the other side. I think I've got less chance of damaging the paint, although I can always mask off and touch up in situ. Anyway, again, following the advice of Dirty Garage Guy, sort of, I've got the crankshaft in and I've got the balancer shaft in, and these have to be timed together, and if you can see there's a dot there and a little mark there, and they have to be perfectly aligned. Now when I say I sort of followed the Dirty Garage Guy, what I mean is he had his con rods on. I haven't got the con rods on, because what I want to try and do, and I don't even know if this is possible, but I can't see why not. Hang on, what's under there? I want to do it like you do on a car. So what I want to do is put the barrels on. I don't even know if this can be done. Drop the pistons through the top of the barrel, flip the engine over, and then do the crank conrod bolts and caps from underneath. I'm kind of thinking, if that's possible, why didn't Dirty Garage Guy do it? So maybe it isn't, you know what I mean? But anyway, that's the plan. I'm going to flip that over and actually see what sort of the access looks like. But that's where we are so far. All the gears in, the crankshaft in, and the balancer shaft in. I've got to get the clutch in next, and everything tells me that that is a bastard. But well, we'll do our best. What can we do? Right, onwards and upwards.